This health crisis we face is unparalleled in modern times. You start to get a sense of the rapid escalation now we're seeing of the virus.
The outbreak in last month has doubled in size.
The worst Ebola epidemic on record had claimed at least 3,439 lives, with the total rising daily.
We turn now to Dallas and that case of Ebola here in the U.S. and word this evening that at least 50 Americans are now being monitored. Their temperature taken twice a day. Hazmat crews on the scene suiting up. And look at that home there. As the camera pulls out tonight, you'll be able to see around that dense apartment complex homes really as far as the eye can see, a packed neighborhood there. The CDC now going door to door.
Drama at Newark Liberty International Airport, an emergency scene when a plane landed and a sick passenger with Ebola-like symptoms was rushed to the hospital. He does not have it, but air travelers are on edge.
That scare comes from people here truly worried, a nation on edge, and that this fear is the new normal. This morning, fears on flights running high after this scare in the air at Newark Airport. An airline passenger showing signs of Ebola mid-flight.
We knew something was really wrong with when they said the CDC was here.
One passenger snapping this photo as Homeland Security entered the cabin.
It may be the new norm when somebody shows signs of an illness that could be consonant with Ebola.
And we are tracking the concerns about another deadly risk, enterovirus. It has spread from 12 to 42 states in just 3 weeks.
A mysterious respiratory disease known as enterovirus D68, afflicting children in 43 states right now.
That virus is spreading quickly, and health officials say it could get worse. This as it has officially now claimed its first victim.
This virus is basically everywhere. They've tested it now in 40 states, and they're only doing random testing, so you have to assume this is now epidemic. But it does seem to be a virus that we haven't seen here in the U.S. before in this kind of an outbreak, and it's a virus that's only recently been identified.
So we have the Ebola virus in Africa, and we now have this virus. What's going on?
Well, the world is flat. We don't know exactly why there was a dramatic spread this year, but something is happening now. We have multiple viruses, and together with global climate change, things are changing in the virus world, and we have to pay attention.
Violence on the streets of Hong Kong following a cry for democracy. It's the worst unrest the city's seen since 1997.
Extraordinary scenes of defiance in the middle of the night. A church congregation barricading themselves in from hundreds of riot police. It's happening in Wenzhou.
A paper trail is emerging of warnings about the growing threat of ISIS as far back as last winter.
So you can have these threats here in the United States, and they need to be addressed. But let's not forget about the other things going on in our country.
That fence jumper at the White House, how he made it so far, actually getting inside the doors.
The incident caused a rare evacuation of the White House.
No one was injured, but today some members of Congress are demanding an answer to one basic question. How could this happen?
Everybody out right now. Go back. Everybody into the park.
7:20 p.m. This man scales the fence of the White House, racing across the north lawn.
Everybody get back. Everybody get back. Get back.
Watch here as he makes his way to the driveway of the residence, veering behind this line of bushes as the Secret Service personnel respond. But it's too late. The man makes it to the portico door, getting inside before he's arrested.
The idea that he could walk into the White House, that it actually was unsecure, is the troubling aspect.
The White House is being evacuated, including the press corps. As we speak, we're being walked out by the Secret Service.
But Pierre, how unusual is this kind of fence jumping?
People jumping the White House fence happens from time to time, but I can't recall someone making it that close, much less getting inside the White House.
Now to the growing manhunt for one of the FBI's 10 most wanted. The search for the gunman who ambushed and killed a Pennsylvania state trooper now extends to at least 6 states. And the area under closest scrutiny is under lockdown for a second night in a row.
A rare look inside a community under siege, where hundreds of heavily armed police have intensified the manhunt for a killer who took the life of one of their own. 8,000 residents under lockdown, the order heading into its second night.
I don't feel safe.
it's getting crazy.
Frightening headline for parents across America. 2 high school shootings in one day. In North Carolina, 1 student wounded by another when an argument outside school erupted in gunfire before the start of class. And then this disturbingly familiar image from Kentucky today. Students filing out of class, their hands on their heads, after another young gunman opened fire.
Another school looking more like a battlefield. Police moving in after a teenage shooter opens fire at the Fern Creek High School in Louisville. An all too familiar scene in America.
When word came out of Oklahoma today, of all places, that there had been a beheading there, understandably, there was alarm and comparisons to the savage brutality of ISIS.
Panic and horror at a food processing plant in Moore, Oklahoma. Police say a man had just been fired, the reason unclear, when he drove around to the main entrance yesterday, went in and beheaded a woman with a knife, then stabbed a second worker. The attack finally ended when an off-duty sheriff's deputy, the company's chief operating officer, shot and injured him. Police say workers said Nolan had been trying to convert co-workers to Islam, but
it did appear random. He wasn't targeting anyone, wasn't going specifically after them. It appears they were just in his way as he came in.
now more police have asked the FBI to help them out in the investigation because of the nature of the attack.
White South Carolina state trooper opened fire on an unarmed black man.
The trooper, Sean Gruber, was fired last week. He was arrested yesterday as police released dash cam video of the shooting, showing the moments right after he pulled over a driver for a seatbelt.
We do want to warn you, this video is graphic and disturbing.
Has your license, please? Get out of the car! Get out! Get on the ground! Get on the ground! I just got my license. You can't get my license.
That driver, you can hear him there saying, I was doing what you told me to do. I was getting my license.
An alarming show of force on the anniversary of the 9/11 terror attacks. Federal agents and local police searching a house in Erie, just north of Denver at Erie Air Park.
5 federal agencies involved, including the Department of Homeland Security.
Just a very long search of the home here on Piper Drive. Erie police have been blocking the road. They are checking IDs and only letting residents through. This is a huge operation, especially earlier on today. It involves Homeland Security, the FBI, the ATF, the Diplomatic Security Service. We still don't know exactly what is going on out here. Erie PD is not talking, and I just checked back with Homeland Security, and nothing new from them. This has obviously a lot of neighbors out here concerned. One woman who has been watching all this since the morning says with the lack of information, she's still wondering if there's any threat to her family.
It's interesting. I have no idea really what is happening in the neighborhood.
A pregnant woman taken down to the ground on her belly by police, and it was all caught on camera. Good evening, everyone. I'm Maurice Dubois.
And I'm Christine Johnson. New at 11 tonight, what happened just before the takedown?
This cell phone video has residents in Sunset Park, Brooklyn, outraged. An officer is seen throwing a pregnant woman to the ground. He then straddles her body while her stomach is pressed against the pavement.
It was disgusting what we saw. You know, how can you treat a human being this way?
Police are then seen throwing another woman to the ground as she tries to interfere. The incident happened less than a week after another police officer in Sunset Park was caught kicking a fruit vendor while police were holding him on the ground.
Unfortunately, this type of stuff keeps repeating itself. These officers are acting without immunity.
The debate about prayer in schools. The high schooler says an administrator kept her from praying before she ate her lunch. Now the Mora School District is investigating.
When Patrick's daughter tried saying grace before lunch here at her high school in Mora, he claims the unexpected happened.
Well, she came home from school and she said, "Dad, I have something to tell you. Today for lunch, right before I was going to eat, I bowed my head to pray. And the superintendent came up to me and said I couldn't do that."
State law keeps schools from instilling religious doctrines, but it protects a student's right to pray. When Ash's daughter told him her story, he says he was speechless.
I asked her if she was praying out loud or, and she said, "No, I was praying to myself. I wasn't even speaking."